Welcome to the Kettlebell Kingdom Road Show. I am James Ham. With me, Mr. Rui Thomas. Say hello, Rui.
Hello.
There's Rui. The Sacramento Kings fall again, 98-94 up in Portland to the Trailblazers. LaMarcus Aldridge goes down in the second quarter and does not return. The Kings have his back except for Carl Landry, and they still manage to lose their fourth straight on the season. They are 16-25 overall. Another disastrous game where they falter down the stretch, cannot finish a game, and this is getting to the point of embarrassment, wouldn't you say, Rui?
Oh yeah, plenty of stuff to be ashamed of if you're on the Sacramento Kings. They couldn't take advantage of LaMarcus Aldridge's thumb injury when he left early in the game, and the absence of Robin Lopez, their starting center. The Kings were missing Landry on their side, but they just couldn't take advantage, right, of the weakness for the Blazers. We saw the Kings come out shooting really hot. They were shooting 55% at the half, but then they ended up shooting 33% the rest of the way. And combined with their enormous turnover count, they definitely couldn't overcome that, and a few questionable referee calls.
Yeah, this team is bleeding out on the turnover front. I mean, again tonight, 23 turnovers. 21 total turnovers, 13 assists. This team just has no rudder at all. I mean, they look like they have no vision about where they're going. And I swear, I will. Here you go, Kings fans. Can we stop with the 4-1 flat with Rudy Gay to finish games? Can we just stop it? I mean, the isolation to finish games. It's the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. The Kings are the most predictable team in the league. It doesn't matter who it is. Tyrone Corbin is the guy who's doing it right now, but this is hideous basketball down the stretch. Talk about a team that has no idea how to win games. And for that matter, a coaching staff that has no idea how to win games. I mean, this team was fully in it, and then Ty Corbin just left DeMarcus Cousins, who was dominating the game, on the bench. And then not only that, but DeMarcus Cousins comes in the game, picks up 3 fouls in like a matter of just a couple of minutes, and goes out of the game. And I mean, that's it. As soon as Cousins goes out of the game, it's ball game. I mean, here is like the epitome of this game is that there in the closing minutes, the Kings were trailing by 1. Portland calls a timeout. They get the ball on the inbounds on the offensive end. They set a high pick and roll with Lillard. Lillard splits the screen, goes right down the middle, and Derek Williams is 6'8", and I swear he has a 38-inch vert. He sits there and cowards down like a little, I don't even know what to say, like a 4-foot tall little person. He cowers down and lets Damian Lillard go up and over and dunk all over him and give the Portland Trailblazers a 3-point lead. At that point, you know what? It was ball game. And so here's my problem with that play. Number one, why is Derek Williams even in the game? He's the worst defensive player this team has. He's worse than Ramon Sessions on the defensive end. Why is he in the game? Rui Thomas, maybe you can answer that question for me.
Perhaps they were looking for a little more offensive punch. I mean, the Kings didn't.
After a timeout! It was a timeout in the waning seconds! No punch!
Right. Well, I mean, it was just so dysfunctional that the Kings couldn't manage to score a field goal in the last 4 minutes and 15 seconds of the game. The fourth quarter, just in its entirety, was just a collapse. The Kings came into the quarter up 7, and we saw the bench allow Portland to go on a 9-2 run. Right, that's when we saw Cousins inserted in the game with 6.5 minutes to go. But those isolation plays with Rudy Gay, I think the entire world sees them coming. He drew a couple fouls and was bailed out on a few of those, but then we saw him miss the mid-range jumper, and then that inbounds pass play at the end of the game with JT throwing it in. Yeah, complete mess. The Kings. The Kings almost looked like they wanted to give it away. Maybe they felt bad for Portland.
I guess.
They're going to lose Aldridge for a significant amount of time, it seems. But yeah, you can definitely blame the coaching for what just happened tonight. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like Don Piano from Sesame Street, the guy who couldn't figure out how to play Row, Row, Row Your Boat and then starts banging his head on the keyboard. That's what it feels like. It feels like this team just literally doesn't know how to do something so basic. And they just keep falling into the same exact traps game in and game out. And the coaching staff has no way to get them out of this. I mean, let's get to some of the numbers here. I mean, Rudy Gay, again, after his heroics of last game, I don't think we gave Rudy enough props after last game. Rudy Gay had a death in the family. He flew in late from Connecticut after going to a funeral. Kings didn't know if he would make it to the game on time. They didn't know if his knee would be okay once he did get there, and he shows up in the first quarter and comes in and was just spectacular. I think he scored 22 points last time out. Now tonight, again, he finishes with 26 points, and it's a decent game, but they just over rely on him in crunch time, especially when Cousins goes out of the game. Cousins fouls out, again in the waning moments here, three really silly fouls and even some questionable stuff. Really bad flop by Thomas Robinson. Cousins finishes with 22 points and 19 rebounds, but he turns the ball over 5 times, and Rudy Gay turns the ball over 6 times. So you have 11 turnovers from your two stars. Cousins has been, just hemorrhaging turnovers his last 3 games. And then he had a 9, an 8, and now a 5. So he's got 22 turnovers in his last 3 games, averaging over 7 turnovers a game. And you just can't win that way. Darren Collison does what he can. He scores 13 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds. Ben McLemore adds 11 points and 5 rebounds. But this team is just in such a funk that I don't know, Rui. I mean, you said that it's almost like they felt bad for Portland. At some point, don't you start to feel bad for yourself?
I mean, yeah, the Kings have been feeling bad for themselves since mid-December when Michael Malone was fired. I mean, you can tell just by their body language, the hustle on defense isn't there. The ball movement not looking so good anymore. We saw only 13 assists tonight against those 23 turnovers. The Kings, I think they realize, the season is slipping away, and I mean, I don't think they can look to answers from the front office or the coaching staff. They need to find it within themselves to, play how they know how to play basketball, which is, taking care of the ball. Last time out against Portland, back on, I believe, October 31st when they won, they only lost the ball 10 times. So, the Kings know how to take care of the ball, and they know how to play defense. They played defense tonight, but, they need to realize there's a correlation between, losing the ball, not getting shots up, and, the results of games.
Yeah, you talk about again. It was 23 turnovers. My bad. I couldn't find the stat there early on. I think I said it was 21 turnovers. But there's just so many things wrong with this team, and at this point, realistically, you do have to start pointing blame at the fact that this team has no depth at all. It has no depth. I mean, Ty Corbin is shrunk down to a 9-man rotation complete tonight. Basically Omri Caspi plays just 8 minutes, but this bench tallies a total of 18 points. That's not enough. Nick Stauskas, your prized rookie possession, gets his second straight DMP CD. That's not going to work. I mean, if this is a work in progress, if this is a throwaway season, all of those things that we could keep throwing out. I mean, I think this is right around game 41, right? You have to start looking yourself in the mirror and saying, where do we go from here? And the fact is, the Kings don't have a strong enough team. That's known right now. They don't have enough shooters. They don't have the power forward position settled. That's the spot that they need. Their bench is absolutely horrific. Even Ramon Sessions was back in uniform tonight, gets a DNP CD to go with Stauskas and Ryan Hollins and newcomer Quincy Miller. But this is just like, it's chaotic, and at this point, I mean, I've never seen really, the Kings don't typically, I mean, there are seasons when you think that it's over early, but this is really, really early to think that it's over. And adding a piece here, like some minor piece at the trade deadline, that's not going to help this team. So either you gut this team right now, or you ride this team out till the end of the season and you just play it and try to strengthen your bench during the offseason, try to find somebody during the offseason. Again, the Kings, some internal growth can happen, from Stauskas, McLemore, even, you can even get more out of a guy like Cousins, who just seems to be developing every time out. But again, man, this is a mess of epic proportion. I don't think anyone's hands are clean at this point. The players, the coaching staff, and certainly the front office and the ownership group have royally botched this thing. And it's got to a point where you just have to, when do heads roll? When do heads roll? Because it's time to start looking that way. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's management. But at this point, somebody failed, not just the fan base, but failed this team, and we got to start getting to the point where we know what exactly happened here and how do we move forward. Because at this point, this team ain't moving forward, and that's very, very clear.
Oh, definitely. When you talk about heads rolling, I think we already saw two heads roll, right? Michael Malone and Chris Gent. They weren't running the offense right, the up-tempo pace well enough. So, I mean, did they get their wish? The Kings are running more. They're averaging nearly 4 more fast break points a game, but at what cost? Wins?
Yeah, you get what you ask for. And I think that's what we're seeing at this point. You get what you ask for. You reap what you sow, Rui Thomas. You reap what you sow. All right, let's get to our 3 keys to the game. Number 1, turnovers. I'm just going to hand you a shovel through the computer screen here, Rui, and you can just beat the living tar out of this dead horse that we keep beating, that is turnovers. Go for it.
Okay, James. Well, we saw a variety of turnovers tonight. We saw, just a simple dribble getting picked, right, leading to fast breaks. We saw a lot of errant passes. Not so many interior passes that were botched. Just swinging the ball around. I believe we saw a couple of turnovers where they were trying to move the ball, throw the ball off court as well. And then of course the last turnover of the game where Darren Collison stepped on the line. Right, that was the sealer right there. No coincidence that the Kings had 8 turnovers in the second and fourth quarters, and those were the quarters they lost badly. So that's a number they can look back at in the locker room. The Kings don't have a problem making shots usually. I mean, well, as far as interior shots or mid-range shots go, especially going up against Portland's elite defense. So they can get if they can get the shots off, they can make them. But you can't make shots when you're just watching the other team scoring fast breaks on the other end.
Yes, I agree. You turn the ball over, you lose. That is the way that the NBA works. Bad teams turn the ball over a grotesque amount of times, and you can point to all kinds of different things, but you're right, Rui. It's almost like it's a mixed bag. It's not like one thing that's causing a turnover. And that's what coaches are always going to say. Well, we made a mistake here, we made a mistake there. It wasn't that we were doing one thing incorrectly. Well, you are doing one thing incorrectly. You're turning the ball over too much. You are not valuing the ball. It's a very basic concept that good teams live by. You value the ball, you increase the chance of winning. You don't value the ball, and you lose again and again and again. I think, what are they, 16 and 25 at this point? Again, the wheels have fallen off this bus completely. So let's get to number 2, inside presence. Portland without Robin Lopez. He sat on the sidelines and literally looked like, I don't know. He's got his crazy hair going and his giant beard going, and I expected him to be looking for a volleyball named Wilson. He looked like Tom Hanks in Castaway. I'm not quite sure what the look is there, but he was missing, and it didn't matter, right? It didn't matter. Cousins still finds a way to foul out against low-level talent at this point, like Chris Kaman, Leonard, and Myers Leonard, right? And the last one, of course, Thomas Robinson, who ends up being the guy who baits Cousins into those last couple of fouls. Still, the Kings did an all right job. Why don't you hit this question, Rui?
Oh, well, on Thomas Robinson, that final foul that got Cousins out of the game, I just thought it was very Tyson Chandler-esque, right, from the other night. Um, you know, Cousins, I believe, was trying to just, get position down low and gets the whistle. He's out of there. But Robinson scored all 5 of his points in the fourth quarter, and I mean, he definitely made his presence felt. Kaman wasn't much of a factor tonight. He battled foul trouble, and DeMarcus pretty much swallowed him alive. But we saw Myers Leonard play really well. He scored 9 points, hit a three early in the game. Talk with him in Portland. He was looking like a bust for the first couple of years of his career after being picked in the lottery, and he's finally found a nice niche as a stretch four who can move around a bit. He plays well tonight. And Aldridge, in his limited minutes, he dominated. He hit 2 threes in the first quarter and finishes 4 for 10 for 10 minutes, or 10 points in 14 minutes. So the Blazers front court, short, undermanned as they were, they beat the Kings front court easily.
All right, let's get to that third point, and the third point that you have going tonight is score by any means possible, right? This is a very good defensive-minded Portland team, but the Sacramento Kings tonight finished the game shooting 44.7%. That's just fine. They had 4 of 12 three-pointers. They go to the free throw line, a whopping 30 times. Now, I'll point out if they would have hit their free throws tonight, you left 8 points on the board right there, and when you lose by 4, that's going to hurt, especially for a quality free throw shooting team like this. But only 4 guys score in double figures. Again, Jason Thompson has this monster 2020 game last time out. Tonight, 4 points and 7 rebounds. He just can't play alongside Cousins. Derek Williams, not only does he find new and interesting ways to give up points, but he also tonight only scored 4 points himself, ran a negative 15 in the plus-minus category. This team needs scores. They need guys like Carl Landry to be healthy, and guys like Ramon Sessions to wake up from their Rip Van Winkle type sleep and figure out how to play basketball again. But they're just not getting anything from these tertiary players. And every night is coming down to Gay, Cousins, and Collison, and if they don't succeed, like tonight when Cousins fouls out in the fourth quarter, then you lose. And, is that a fair assessment, Rui?
Oh, yeah. The Kings just don't have enough options. I mean, Derek Williams, right, he kind of epitomizes his team as far as the inconsistency. He can't, one night, right, he's driving to the lane with authority, and another night he's invisible like this. Reggie Evans was he pulled down 6 rebounds tonight, but he was swatted pretty badly on one put back, and he was you can't rely on him for offense. Obviously, I think the absence of Carl Landry was really apparent tonight because the bench, right, along with that run, they only scored 8 points in the second half, and while with Ray McCallum's jumper struggling, and Nick Stouts is not in the game, there's really no one to stretch the floor for the bench right now. And right when Cousins fouls out, and you have those remaining stars on the floor, you have the Gay ISOs, and the offense becomes a lot narrower as far as the options to run through.
Yeah, I would agree. When it's just Gay on the court, it just becomes like this horrific isolation game. And I love what Rudy Gay does. I think he's actually a very, very good player. He's fun to watch. He hits all those shots that you're like, oh, no, don't pull up while you got 2 guys draped all over you from 18 feet. But every time it's so smooth and it goes right down the middle. But, this team has to figure out a way to get more out of everyone else. How to share. That's a problem that we've seen from this team that's starting to develop once again. The selfish play, the 13 assist nights. Rudy Gay was at one point was up to almost 5 assists a game, and his last 6 or 8 games he's averaging 1.5, 2 assists a game. It's just turned into that individual game that I know Darren Collison talked about avoiding the other night when we were in the locker room. Darren Collison. How do you avoid getting into that me lifestyle to finish this season? And again, there's 41 games left in the season. There's so much time, and this team's just literally run out of gas and start waving the white flag. So, all right, Rui, let's get to our MVP of the game. Who do you got for MVP tonight?
I'm gonna go with DeMarcus Cousins. You know, he in 38 minutes, he recorded 22 points, 19 rebounds, 4 blocks. He had the 5 turnovers, but he definitely made his presence felt. Didn't settle for jumpers much today. He practically just drove to the lane at will. He recognized the weakness, the Portland thin front court, and he shook off the slow start from the free throw line when he was 2 for 6, went perfect 6 for 6 the rest of the way. Definitely not. I mean, you can put some of the blame at his turnovers, but he was definitely a large reason why the Kings stayed in it so late.
All right, my MVP for tonight is Derek Williams, and he's the MVP for the Portland Trailblazers. Anyone
Oh,
who's 6'8" and refuses to stand his ground when a 6'1" guard is coming down the middle, or 6'2" guard, whatever Lillard is, and lets him dunk all over you in the waning seconds of a 1-point ball game. The least Williams could have done was foul Lillard. I mean, you got to do something there. To me, that's just embarrassing. Again, I'll say this again. He should have never been on the court, but since he is on the court, show some pride. I mean, why are you backpedaling? It's not like you were surprised the guy split the double team. I mean, he had 8 steps to get after he split the double team to get to the rack. Where's your rotation? Where's your gumption? Where is your spine? To me, that was an embarrassment. And I'm going to call Derek Williams out for that embarrassing play. Now, I'm also going to point out that realistically, it's unfortunate for Sacramento Kings fans, but Damian Lillard should actually be on the Sacramento Kings. The Kings passed on Lillard, and one of the saddest moves that will haunt this team again and again and again and again for probably the entirety of Lillard's 12 to 15 years in the league. And then when Lillard hangs it up and he's in the Hall of Fame, and you can look back at the like 30-game run of Thomas Robinson in a Sacramento Kings jersey that you drafted over Damian Lillard, you're just going to keep shaking your head again and again and again. Now, you can blame a lot of different people there. Of course, it was Jeff Petrie who made that pick, but the reality is the blame fully goes on George, Gavin, and Joe Maloof, who bumbled this franchise into obscurity and did not give enough money to Jeff Petrie to go sign a power forward, so he had to look for one in the draft as opposed to drafting the players that they loved and the best player available in Damian Lillard. So hat tip to the Maloof family. You are also MVPs tonight. Your MVPs for the Portland Trailblazers. Good for you. So, Rui, I've been a little sarcastic tonight, but what else you got for us on the way out the door?
man, the Maloof brothers haunt the Kings still to this day, which is ridiculous. I mean, there isn't much to say after that.
Yeah, catastrophic. Catastrophic. All right, well, the Sacramento Kings will be back at it on Wednesday night. They get to face off against the Brooklyn Nets, who are for sale. Uh, Darren Williams, who I don't think is going to play, but Darren Williams, who clearly the Kings may have coveted there for like 3 minutes earlier in the season. Miles Plumlee. Paul Westphal will be back in the building. Good friend Paul, former Sacramento Kings head coach, who is back in the league, and he is on Lionel Holland's bench as an assistant coach. So make sure to mark your calendar for Wednesday to see the Sacramento Kings face off against the Brooklyn Nets. That's going to do it for this edition of the Road Reaction postgame show. I am James Ham. He is Rui Thomas. We'll be back on Wednesday with a live postgame show from the floor of Sleep Train Arena. Until then, have a good night. Be safe.